It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Rose-Hulman's assistant women's basketball coach, Coach Allison McCarthy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to do this.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college women's basketball?
Well, I started off playing when I was very young, 10. My father was a high school football coach, a college athlete as well. So I was always involved in sports. And once I played basketball at Northern Kentucky University, I got the feeling that I really wanted to coach and went into the high school coaching realm first so that I could raise my family. But I always knew in the back of my mind that at some point I wanted to be a college basketball coach. So it started early on, but really solidified once I was actually playing college basketball.
What was that experience like going to Northern Kentucky and getting to play collegiate basketball?
Well, being a youth that grew up in Northern Kentucky, I played high school basketball at Holmes High School in Covington, Kentucky, and actually attended NKU's women's basketball camp from third grade till 12th grade. So as someone who grew up in the area, really watching Northern Kentucky University basketball on the women's side and watching Nancy Winstall coach, it was a dream to be able to do that. So getting to play at Northern Kentucky, being from Northern Kentucky, was really special to me.
How was that experience like, as you said, playing for your hometown?
You know, it's always good. I still go back to this day. And, you know, even when I transitioned into college coaching, going back and being in the area in general and seeing people that you know, and when you've been around basketball in that area for 30 years, it's nice to be able to be around people that know you. So it was the same as a player. People knew me as a player locally. So getting to play for a hometown is always a dream come true for any college athlete.
What was that feeling like putting on that jersey and representing them?
You know, 7%, I think, of all high school athletes get to be college athletes. So really understanding that perspective and really watching my father coach in high school and then watch some of those athletes go on to college. And some of my high school teammates went on to play basketball in college. So I understood the significance of being able to be a college athlete, what it represents for yourself, for your family, for your school, for your community. So it was really special being able to be included into that small percentage that gets to move on and play at a high level.
While in college, what were some of your collegiate basketball accomplishments?
Well, my claim to fame, I'm just going to say this, my claim to fame is I was the predecessing years before NKU's first national championship. I did not win a national championship at NKU. But from 1994 until 1998, I played, and our overall record was about 71-38. So we were over 50% on the win category. I led the team 95, 96, 96, 97 in field goal percentage, still seventh all time in field goal percentage there. But really, that was in a transitional period where we were really becoming competitive at the Division II level. It was Division II when I played before it transitioned. It's a D1 now. But back then we were D2 and we were really becoming competitive. And then the year after I graduated, I think they went 30-3, went to a Final Four. And the second year after I graduated, they were 32-2, I believe, and they were national champions. So, you know, my claim to fame is I beat up on the players that ended up winning a national champion every day in practice.
How was that feeling like when you got inducted into the Kentucky Hall of Fame?
So it's the Northern Kentucky Sports Hall of Fame, and it's a unique group. It's not the Northern Kentucky University Hall of Fame. I want to make sure that that's clear. It's the Northern Kentucky Sports Hall of Fame. So it was based off of my involvement in high school sports. I played 4 sports in high school, had 17 varsity letters overall. So I was a long time athlete playing multiple sports in high school. And then I was a coach in Northern Kentucky as well for a long time. So it's a combination of the two that I was able to get inducted into the Northern Kentucky Sports Hall of Fame. And the most significant thing about that for me was that I got to be inducted with my father. So I gave my speech right before he gave his speech, which was very cool. But he was 100% an influence in my life. So to be able to be inducted into that Hall of Fame was very special. I also got inducted into my high school Hall of Fame in 2017. So it was, those are unique experiences that, hard work and dedication ended up paying off in the long run. I didn't think that would ever happen for me, but apparently there was enough there for me to be inducted into a couple Hall of Fames.
What was that feeling like getting inducted into the Hall of Fame alongside your father?
I laugh and we joked about it because my speech was before his. And so I got to say everything he wanted to say because, great minds think alike. He says that as well. So for us, it was a very special circumstance because he started off coaching me when I was young. And to be able to be inducted, because I always included him as one of my heroes. He was somebody that I always aspired to be, the way he coached, the way he handled himself professionally, and really how much he loved the game of football. In particular, his passion for football. That was something that I took on. So to be able to be inducted with my father was a very unique and cool experience.
How was that experience like getting to coach on the high school level before jumping to the college level?
I loved coaching in high school. It is a very different type of coaching because you're coaching and really helping them develop as people in their early formative years. And so coaching in high school really helped me to understand what I needed to do to coach at the collegiate level. And I didn't know that until I got here. Working with, and I actually coached girls for about 15 years, and I coached 5 years of high school boys. So being able to experience on both sides of the male and female side, coaching at different levels was really impactful for me. Very, very unique experience where you get to deal with them, sometimes siblings, their families. You get to know and really be a part of the community and build and develop relationships.
To you as a coach, what was that transition like going from coaching on the high school level to jumping to the college level?
I say it every day. I tell our head coach, Devin Paul, I thank him every day for giving me an opportunity because when I first applied, I applied at about 200 places and all of them said, you need some experience. And having 20 years of high school experience is not the same as having a year of college experience. But Coach Paul took a chance on me. And so I tell him all the time, I love my job. All of my experiences coaching in high school have really made it able to transition to coaching in college pretty seamlessly. So I don't think I've had any issues. I'm enjoying myself and it's way more relaxed. It takes some of the pressures off of the expectations that you have when you coach in high school. But it's a different set of expectations that are a good set of expectations.
For you, what was that feeling like stepping onto the Rose-Hulman court for the first time?
When I stepped on the first day for practice, I got there very early that day and I actually kind of just stood there for a little while. And because it's something I always wanted to do, an experience that I wasn't sure I was ever going to have after you've taught and coached in high school for a long period of time. Sometimes people get set in their ways and that's what they continue to do. But taking a leap of faith and really jumping to this level was very impactful for me. So when I stepped on the court on that first day of practice, I realized that I was here and how blessed I am to have been able to have the opportunity to do something that I've always wanted to do, even at the age that I'm at and the point in my career where I'm at.
How was that feeling like the first time you got to step on that court on game day?
It was like I was still a player. I had the same nervous anxiety the night before, and I am a very passionate person about the game of basketball. I take it very serious. I think all the players know. Coach Paul calls me a little crazy, but he says it's the right kind of crazy. So, when you coach, if you really love the game, preparing for your first college game is like preparing for your first day as a player. It was super exciting. Definitely expressed to my players the importance that this was the first game that I was going to get to experience with them as a college coach. It'll be memorable forever for me.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a coach versus for your athletes?
All right, so the athletes, I'll go that perspective first. When we have a game day, we'll get up in the morning, we will have a shoot around, a walkthrough of what we're going to do for that day. We don't like to call those walkthroughs, so I'm going to rephrase that. I'm going to actually go backwards. We have a preparation workout for the game. We don't walk through. It's more like a practice. But when we have those, the kids will come in, they'll have their practice for the morning, prepare for the game, talk about our game plan, expectations for the day. The kids will have a lunch ready for them before we play. And If it's a home game, it's a Saturday afternoon game, so they'll eat their lunch. They'll have a little time to themselves where they can also go and get athletic training, therapy, treatments, anything that they need prior to the game to make sure they're ready to go. And then we'll, go out on the court 40 minutes before for our pregame shoot around. And then they'll have their pregame talk in the locker room, followed by their warm up, play the game, and they're out of there. As coaches, obviously, there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes, making sure that everybody is there in the morning, making sure that the gym is set up, the clock is set up for that shoot around. The school itself will obviously take care of game day setup. But when they come in, that we want to make sure that they have everything that they need so they don't have to think on those days. They're just ready to play on those days. So we take care of their pregame meal. Coach Gabrielle Gibson, who is Coach Paul's wife, is one of our volunteer assistant coaches as well. And she helps with a lot of the things that happen behind the scenes. She helps with the pregame meal, making sure that's set up. And then obviously we don't leave. We stay there. We're ready the whole day as coaches. And then obviously following the game, we support our men's program as well for the second game.
What is that preparation like leading up to game day?
For me, it's preparation is the key, right? Repetitions. You should get to the point where on a game day, you are fully ready to go for the game. You shouldn't even have to think about it. So all of our practices leading up to a game day are specifically designed and organized so that the kids feel the most comfortable so that we can get the most out of them on that game day. So we do lots of film work, game prep and repetitions during the week, but players aren't made in the season. They're made in the preseason, the off season. So we put in a lot of work in the preseason leading up to those so that when it comes time for the week of a game, we are fully prepared and the kids are ready to go so that they're reaching their optimum potential on those days.
For you as a coach, what is it like getting to coach first when the men's also have a game the same day?
We love it. There's a camaraderie there. We coach at an engineering school. So, obviously all of our kids have a high academic rigor and their schedules are very strenuous. So having a support system with our men's team and vice versa, we support the men's team and they support us. It's a very cool experience. I love that we're able to draw some crowd. And last year in particular, we were able to retain some of that crowd where they started coming to watch us play because the style of play that we're playing is faster and it's a little bit more exciting. So we had some very exciting games last year that people were starting to take interest in and really wanting to come watch.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
Obviously, first and foremost, Transylvania. Everybody knows who Transylvania is. Transylvania was in the Final Four last year, won the Division III national championship the year prior. Very dominant team. They had a crazy long win streak that was broken last year. But that is obviously the top in our conference. We have several other teams that are very, very competitive that we're really trying to compete with. Earlham is in our conference, Hanover's in our conference, Mount St. Joe, Franklin is in our conference. We just added Berea to our conference, who Berea last year had a great season in their conference. They've joined the HCAC for this upcoming season. So we have Manchester in our conference, Defiance in our conference. So overall, we feel like we have one of the toughest Division III conferences that's really going to help us prepare for the tournament for this upcoming year.
What is that home game atmosphere like when you have big teams coming into your home facility versus going away?
Anytime you have a home advantage, that's exactly what it is. It's an advantage. So when we are at home, our kids come to the games. It's funny. And my daughter, who works at the University of Louisville, she laughed when she came to watch one of our games at home because a lot of our students bring their laptops with them. She's like, Mom, they study while they're at the game. I said, yes, they do. They do. We are engineers. That's what we do around here. But the home crowds, especially towards the end of last season, really started to pick up and really started to take notice that we were making some improvements in our skills and wins and losses. And going into this 24-25 season, we're really looking for those home games to be impactful. We want to have a winning percentage when we're playing at home this year for sure.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've helped to build for the women's basketball program?
All right. So Coach Devin Paul, when he came to Rose, he 100% had a clear vision for what he wanted to do, the culture of the program, the expectations, where we were headed, what we were going to do. So the alignment really happened for he and I pretty immediately. We connected, and we did not know each other prior to the season. However, many coaches complimented us on how well we worked together. So changing the culture of the program really wasn't that hard because he set and had a clear vision and path of what we were going to do. And just by working together, we've really established what we need to do and the culture we need to have in our program in order to move forward.
What does that recruitment process look like? And as a coach, what do you look at in those prospective student athletes?
First and foremost, we are looking for high academic players. The engineering and being a specific school that is specific to engineering, that's what we look for first. You have to be able to study what we have to offer. We don't offer the traditional courses. We have trimesters here at Rose as well. So it's a very different academic environment. So that's first and foremost what we look for. And then the second thing that we look for in a player is how they interact, really, who they are. We want to find out who they are, how they interact with their families, with their coaches, with their players. And we watch those type of things. We watch if they're able to make adjustments on the fly, how they handle adversity in their AAU and high school seasons. We do look at skill, but we know we can coach basketball. So, they have to have some skill. And we are looking for high skill level players that are engineers. But, all of the other things are things that we look for first so that we are really tapping into the full potential of these high academic kids here.
As a coach, what is it like getting to see those prospective student athletes fall in love with the campus and the facility?
That's the best part. Rose-Hulman, I don't know if you can see behind me, but there behind me is some trees, and then right down the hill, there's the football field. So the campus at Rose is phenomenal. Before I came to Rose-Hulman, I did not really know much about the school itself. Since I've been here and when I stepped foot on campus, I knew immediately it was a very welcoming, felt like home here. So when we get to watch the kids come to campus, and we have 7 incoming freshmen, so all of those kids from that recruiting class from last year to this year, all of those kids, when they stepped on campus, they said the same thing. So this campus itself, it's beautiful. For a Division III school, we have very, very high quality facilities. All of the people here are willing to help. So it's just a family type atmosphere that is really supportive of athletics as well.
As a coach, what is it like getting to see those freshmen put on that Rose-Hulman's jersey for the first time?
The excitement, it takes me right back to when I was a player. I say that a lot because I come shoot in the gym a lot still to this day. But having that feeling of your first college game is something that's unmatched. So, I take the time, put their jerseys in their lockers, hang them, and I do that for every game. But, having that feeling of walking into that locker room and seeing everything set up for a game day, the feeling that you feel on that first game day, of the pregame to the pregame meal, to the locker room talk, to getting ready to go out on the court. They really enjoy that experience, and it's a once in a lifetime experience that you'll never get to replace. So I always try to make sure that they have a top-notch experience. And that's another thing that Coach Paul really stressed when I came on my interview here, was it's about the overall experience for these players. The players, we want them to leave college and leave this atmosphere knowing that they had a great experience while playing college basketball as a student.
What is it like getting to see those seniors put on that jersey for the last time representing Rose-Hulman?
This past year was unique for us because we did have 5 seniors. Some of those came in as freshmen on the team, and they didn't have a season because of COVID. So for them, they didn't have a freshman season. They did have a sophomore season, and then their junior season, because of a player shortage, they didn't play a season at all either. So realistically, they didn't get the full experience. So, and then of the 5 seniors that we had, only 2 of them had been there for all of those years throughout the whole process. We did have some that started off playing and then we asked to come back, and they ended up playing as seniors. So they played first year and then the 4th year. And then we had another player that joined the team as a senior. She was on the golf team and wanted to be a part of our experience and what we were building. So she was actually a player that came on that really hadn't played basketball in quite a while. So this group of seniors, when they got to put on their uniforms for the last time, again, this was our first group here at Rose. So it was a very unique experience for Coach Paul and I both, one that we'll never forget. Very unique story about our senior night this year when they got to put on their uniforms. One of our seniors who had been here for all 4 years and been a part of the program, Peyton, she had torn her ACL in the preseason this year. And she and I talked about the fact that I would love for her to push herself through her therapy so that maybe by the end of the season, she would be able to dress and potentially play in that game. She had her surgery at the beginning of January, and she was able to walk on senior night across with her parents. And we let her start in the game, even though she was still in a knee brace and still not cleared. Both coaches agreed, and we let her start, and they let her score a basket of her senior year. So that was a very unique thing and a very special moment for her family, and for us as well. But this group of seniors was spectacular. They faced adversity all 4 years that they were playing college basketball and still ended up having a great senior season and a great experience overall as they left out of Rose.
As a coach, what is it like getting to see them achieve those big milestones in their career, like their first basketball goal or their 1,000th career points?
Any moment that you have with players that you've invested your time and energy into, when they celebrate, we celebrate with them. They are putting in the work every day. And as a former player, I understand how much work goes into it. I understand how much work, and I did not get to or have to experience the academic side that they face. Their academics here are very, very demanding. So knowing and understanding the work that they put in, both on and off the court, any of their accomplishments that they have, we love to celebrate with them. We want to celebrate with them. We want to make sure that they know and understand that it is something they won't forget for the rest of their lives. Right now, one of our players, Jamie Baum, is on the USA Women's National Baseball team, and she's playing in the World Cup. And I watched her game yesterday, and I sat there and I was beaming with pride as she's pitching during a World Cup game. And I'm like, this is a kid that's just with us every day, and her work ethic is unmatched. She's phenomenal. So any of those experiences where they have accomplishments, whether it be scoring a first layup, your 1,000th point. We had a freshman that was freshman of the year this year, Grace Rowland. So getting those accomplishments and really seeing your hard work pay off, it's very meaningful especially as a former player.
As a coach, what is it like getting to see those players go on and achieve great things after their collegiate career, whether it's into coaching or playing professionally?
So most of ours don't go into coaching, and most of ours don't go into playing professionally. Most of ours go into the engineering world. Actually, 99% of the student population at Rose-Hulman ends up leaving with a job that is making pretty good money. All of our seniors had a job before the end of our season. So unlike most of us who leave college and we're like, okay, we have a degree, what do we do now? Most of our players knew before they left where they were going. They had a job, they were set and ready to go. So, just knowing what they experience here at Rose and what they're leaving with, because the engineering degree from Rose-Hulman speaks for itself. Anybody that has that on their resume in the engineering world, they are recognized. So it's a proud moment when we get to see them carry on and go on. Peyton Miller, the one that tore her ACL, we were out recruiting in Chicago, and she came and sat and watched basketball with us all day because that's where her job that she got after college, that's where she's living now. So, getting to see them in the real world really succeeding is special.
As a coach, what have you accomplished so far for Rose-Hulman?
So last year we were 12-14. Like I said, when we started the season, they only had 8 players on the roster, 6 of which were able to play. So we started off the season really unsure of what we were going to have and where we were going to be. So our successes came daily as we watched them develop, as we were able to pull the team together. We were able to find kids on campus that had played basketball before and joined together with a group. And we really built a special, unique group coming off of a season where they didn't even have a team because they weren't able to field one. So ended up 12-14, and I believe we lost 5 of those 14 games by 5 points or less. It was either 5 or 7 of those games by 5 points or less. So really competing in our first year as we came in August, not really having a team and implementing all new strategies, expectations, all of the things that Coach Paul had in mind really went very smoothly. So going into year 2, we've put in some work in the off season, recruiting wise. We've put in some work in the off season as coaches professionally, doing professional development and really working together so that going into this season, we really are looking to compete, especially on the national level if possible.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
Our plans are to get better every day. We like small victories. We like small wins. We talk about those with our players every day. We give them goals. They set goals for themselves. We really want to be a player-led team, meaning where they don't have to require us to play the game of basketball. They can go out and just play the game of basketball. So just daily wins, our goals and expectations, we try not to set them too high, too low. Playing the game of basketball is about daily wins and really getting better every day. You can put in an hour of work every day and really get 1% better every day. And if you add all those up at the end of the year, that's a lot of progress.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college women's basketball?
Come in prepared, come in shape, come in ready to go, come in ready to compete. Those are the key things. A lot of freshmen coming in the door, sometimes they don't feel like they're going to be able to make an impact right away. Some of them think that they are going to make an impact right away and they're unsure. They're not certain of what they're walking into. So realistically, if you're given a preseason or a summer workout program, really following that summer workout and put yourself in the best position possible to really come in and compete and make an impact right away.
What advice would you give those players looking to play professional basketball, whether it's the WNBA or going overseas?
Playing at that level, we talked about that 7% that jump from high school to college. It's a much lower percentage that go from college to professional sports. So if that isn't a goal or an aspiration of yours, then obviously you have to put in more work than the average player, and you have to really make the commitment to yourself and dedicate the time and energy that's required to really make those steps. That's the only way possible, is to put in the time and effort and really do the work. It's all about the work.
What advice would you give those players looking to get into coaching after their playing career?
I actually just went to a We Coach Academy. So as a female in college coaching, there's still a disparity between the number of men that coach women's sports and the number of women that coach women's sports. So I strongly encourage any females, especially young females who are going into college athletics, high school athletics. If you have any interest in coaching, it is really important for people to stay engaged in whatever sport it is that they're wanting to coach. The We Coach Academy was eye-opening for me in Denver. It was an experience I'll probably never forget. I actually won an impact award there, but it was because I was fully engaged in what was going on throughout the whole process of those 3 days that we were in Denver. And it really does encourage and support the growth and development of women in college athletics or even high school athletics. I believe they're having a youth and high school convention coming up as well. So anytime I hear that a young person is interested in coaching at any capacity, I strongly encourage it. Would love to have conversations with anybody that would want to get into coaching, because you do make a difference. You do make an impact.
What advice would you give those assistant coaches out there getting started in coaching?
Stick with it. Engulf yourself. I call myself a lifelong learner. That's what has made me relevant and able to coach throughout the years. I started coaching in 1999 was my first year. So I've been around for quite a while, but it's because I stayed involved in the game, stayed active as a learner in the game of basketball, continue to change with the times. The game of basketball is the game of basketball, but it does change some over time, and you have to be willing to adapt to the changes and go with the flow, all while maintaining your basic philosophy. So it is challenging, but I encourage all young, especially female, I have a soft place for that, to stay into it, because a lot of times females will start in coaching in their 20s and then actually leave in their 30s. So I encourage especially young females to stay involved. It's important for that representation to be there.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program at?
Okay.
Listeners find you at on social media along with the program at.
All right, so let's start with the program first. Rose-Hulman Women's Basketball page is RHIT_WBBALL. And then mine is under my name, Allison McCarthy. And my handle is AllieMac2424 on Instagram. And on Twitter, The Rose-Hulman basketball is the same for our team, and mine is @_Coach AMAC. So those are the two that we use primarily for Rose-Hulman and myself. Those are the two handles that we use the most.
Thank you again, Coach Allison McCarthy, for your interview, and best luck in your future at Rose-Hulman as the assistant women's basketball coach.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Allison, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you very much.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.